Good morning and welcome to Saturday special of Dr.Lamba's Awakening. Indian culture and religious philosophy is very comprehensive, and the concept of Vedanta is all pervasive. In reality, the term Vedanta is a Sanskrit term which means the conclusion of Vedas, and Vedas are the earliest scriptures, are the earliest sacred literature of India, which is supposed to be epitome of knowledge, or I would say the root of all knowledge. Now the word Vedanta is from two words, Veda and Ant. Ant means conclusion. So this philosophy is the gist, the essence of the Vedas. It implies all over, and Upanishads, which are elaboration of Vedas, and the schools that arose of the study of Upanishads. Now there are 6 schools which arose out of the study of Upanishads, and they are called Mimamsas. Veda's conclusion in Vedanta basically adopts ideas from other orthodox schools as well. And the most prominent school being Astika. The Vedanta traditions led to the development of many traditions in Hinduism, like Shri Vaishnavism in southeastern India, as based on Ramanujam's Vishishta from Veda. And as I said, this is one of the 6 systems of the Indian philosophy which we call darshan. The term Vedanta, as I said, applies not only to the Vedas but also to the Upanishads, because they are elaborations of Vedas. And the Vedantic philosophy is also referred to in Vedanta Mimamsa, reflections on Vedanta. What Mimamsa is? Reflections, critical analysis. That's a real scientific approach. And the most important of them is Uttar Mimamsa, which is a reflection on the latter part of the Vedas, and Brahm Mimamsa, reflections on Brahma. The 3 fundamental Vedantic texts are Upanishads, the most favored being the longer and the older one like Brahmacharya, Chandyoga, Taittiriya, and Katha. And Brahm Sutras, also called Vedanta Sutras, which are very brief, even one word interpretation of the doctrine. And Bhagavad Gita, Lord's song, which because of immense popularity was drawn upon for the support of the doctrines found in the Upanishads. No single interpretation of the text emerged, and the several schools of Vedanta developed slowly, but they differentiated by their conception of the nature of the relationship, the degree of identity between the eternal core of the individual, which is Atma, the soul, and the absolute Brahma. These concepts were all pervasive, as I said, and comprehensive. They range from the non-dualism, Advaita, of the 8th century philosopher Shankara, to theism, which I'll translate literally qualified non-dualism of the 11th and 12th century thinker Ramanujam, and dualism, Dvaita, of the 13th century thinker Madhya. The Vedanta school do, however, have common number of beliefs like transmigration of soul, desirability of release from the cycle of rebirths, the authority of Vedas on the means of release, that Brahman is both material and instrumental. Now this is something important. It's not only the imposition, it is the desirability of release and the authority of the Vedas on the means of release. Ultimately, The purpose is that the self, the Atma, the agent of its own action, should be able to be merged with the Godhead, and the recipients of the fruits, phal, the consequence of actions. And all Vedantic schools unanimously reject both the non-Vedic and non-saying philosophy. Non-saying are agnostic or atheist, like Buddhism and Jainism, and conclusion of other Vedic yes-saying philosophies like Astika. The other schools are Nyaya, Samakhya, Yoga, and to some extent the Purva Mimamsa. The influence of Vedanta on the Indian philosophical thought has been profound. Although the preponderance of the text by Advaita scholars has in the West given rise to the very erroneous impression that Vedanta means Advaita. No, it's not. Advaita is non-dualistic, but it's one of the many Vedanta schools. And this is what troubles me, that the Indians even follow the Western truncated, fractured meaning of Vedanta. It's just one aspect of Vedanta they take up, which is Advaita, which is non-dualistic. What about the dualistic part? What about the other parts? The question arises, why does Vedanta reject Buddhism? Because Vedanta tries to establish an Atma as the basis of everything, the soul. Buddhism maintains that everything in the empirical world is only a stream of passing, temporary, impersonal, evanescent process, which has to be characterized as Anant, being without a persistent self and without independence. So what is Vedanta spirituality? Vedanta is one of the world's oldest and most comprehensive spiritual philosophies based on Vedas, as I said. And it has two parts. One is knowledge and the other is the end and the goal. And Vedanta is extremely important because it says that those who are enlightened know the self is one. And in loving one's own true self, we are loving all. No, the latest psychological interpretation is love yourself. This is the latest trend. And this was enunciated in Vedanta philosophy centuries back. Self-love. Because self represents the world. If you love yourself, you love others. Even when we are apparently loving others, we do so because we see in them nothing but our own self. So now, here's the difference. This Christian thought is God created man in his own image. Here it is God is man and man is reflected in everybody. This is a wonderful state. Vedanta teachers say that the real love is possible only in this state. And that is something which the Westerns have not been able to understand. You know, what happened was that Max Muller was the first to translate. And he had not studied all the Mimamsas. So all Vedic tradition and Vedantic tradition, certain extensional discussions on ontology, on theology and epistemology are important, which have been ignored. And there is quite a disagreement between the various schools. The various schools of Vedanta are Advaita, Bheda, the difference and the non-difference. Then there is Suvidvaita, then there is Tatraveda, the Vaita, then there is Vishuddhvaita, qualified non-dualism. And modern developments in Vedantic philosophy include non-Vedanta and the regrowth of Swami Narayan Sampradaya. The most important Vedantic schools except Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta and non-Vedanta are related to Vaishnavism and emphasize devotion, bhakti yoga to God. And God is understood as being Vishnu, Krishna and related manifestations. Advaita Vedanta meanwhile emphasizes dhyan, and Gyan, knowledge, and yoga over theistic devotion. Advaita is monoism, which basically attracts considerable attention to the West because of its influence on the modern Hindus. And that was thanks to the great sage Swami Vivekananda. Now, what are the common features of the Vedantic philosophy? There are 6 forms, as I said, but despite the differences, all schools of Vedanta share some common features. First, Vedanta is the pursuit of knowledge into Brahma and Atma. Second, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutra constitute the basis of Vedanta. Thirdly, scriptures like Shruti Shabad is the main reliable source of knowledge. Brahma, Ishwar, exists as unchanging material and instrumental cause of the earth. He is the instrumental cause. The only exception there is that the Advaita Vedanta does not hold Brahma to be the material cause, but the efficient cause. Now, very subtle difference, the material cause and the efficient cause. Then another similarity in all the schools. The self, which is Atma, or the Jeev, is the agent of its own actions, karma, and the recipients of that karma. And the next is belief in the rebirth and the destiny of the release from the cycle of rebirth, which is moksha. Another very common similarity which people have ignored is that all schools of Vedanta reject the conclusions of other basic schools, Nyaya, Samakhya, Yoga, to some extent, the Purva Mimamsa. Now, as I said, the main scriptures of Vedanta are the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutras. Now, if you study this, you will see that all major teachers, whether they were Shankar, Bhaskar, Ramanujam, Madhya, or Vallabh, composed commentaries on the 3 sources, which is Brahma Sutras, or Bhadranarayan, which is a synthesis of the teaching of Upanishads. They also had a commentary on Bhagavad Gita and Samkhya Yoga. And all Vedantist philosophy and all the schools agree that scripture is the only means of knowing Paramatma regarding spiritual matters. And a theory that rests exclusively on the human concept may at other times be placed to refute the arguments which are devised by the clever people. But the reasoning put forward in the scripture, Shri Bhashya, is excellent. And that mentions that the sub-schools of Vedanta, other texts, are equally important. They don't ignore them. For example, in the works of Adi Shankara, the Advaita philosophy is advocated in a great manner. And the theistic Vaishnava school of Vedanta and Vallabh added to this the Bhagavad Purana as a fourth text. Now that was one thing. Then the metaphysics which is explained is great. The Vedanta philosophers focus on 3 fundamental aspects of metaphysics. First, Brahma, the supreme reality. And relation between the Brahma and the Jiva. The Jiva is the soul, Atma. And then the epistemology, which is Pramana. Now, Pramana basically means proof. And that is for the first time it has been given. So, the inference, the upama, and the pramana, which is basically scientific, the hypothesis, the theory, and the law. They are the base of Vedanta. The Vedantic. Now, this is a curious thing which people have not taken into consideration, actually, Western, that this philosophy combines a metaphysics, combines pure natural sciences and philosophy, which in the West are different schools altogether, three different disciplines. And Vedanta combines all three into one. Then the theories of cause and effect are great in India and in this. The Brahma Sutras espouse the nearest Parnamic position, which appears to be directly with the common early Vedantas. So, as I said, whether you take it as philosophy, whether you take it as science, whether you take it as metaphysics, whether you take it as a pure causal effect theory, the Vedantic philosophy is all-pervasive, and in fact it is epitome of all knowledge. The Vedantic philosophy enables us to live a life that is at two levels: the physical, purely physical, and metaphysical, and the spiritual. And the combination of the three, all encompassing, comprehensive, and Catholic in outlook. By Catholic I mean cosmopolitan, all over, all embracing. This philosophy, if you understand and follow, sharpens your intellect, heightens your spiritual intake, and enables you to identify yourself with a Godhead. Thank you.